into Ambessa.
Okay, Lux.
Yeah.
Okay, Lux.
Yeah. That's the thing, they banned the Nami to deny Poke Nami, but I felt like Ash Seraphine or Kate Lux were the ones I was thinking of as big threats in the 2v2 laning phase. So they come out, and it looks like Raptor with the jungle pool really thinned is just going to go for the Wukong, which, you know, decent diver, you have that with the Akali, that could be a big threat to this backline.
I like Neferi a lot more, actually. Neferi and Lulu we've seen already find a lot of success. Obviously, that was a different version of Neferi playing in the lane rather than in the jungle, but Raptor has been decent in this champion. We just need to not have a repeat of that one play that we all remember when he played full.
That was definitely a hook between them. That was just okay.
That was
There we go. They made amends. Don't worry, everyone. We managed to solve the crisis. But yeah, as you say, the Neferi, when we first saw this come out, the idea was into buy. So yeah, I think this pick makes a lot more sense, especially
Hola, 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 hola.
to attack these two picks. They're great time, like a Lux in particular. If you ult that and get that really easy reset, you have a lot of value in these fights. So I am a little concerned for the lanes
Lance. And being, I mean, it's already going better than in game number one. Don't look at the gold difference with the fact that T1 are just kind of in every lane and the jungle winning. It's not as bad as it was.
Yeah. It's expected to kind of go this way with this early pressure from T1. It just comes down to, can you find opportunities to come back into it, because if you already have this kind of passive goal lead, level up after this next minion. I think it's back as well. When we're talking about the level 6 weapon, they're probably big difference in this. Oh yeah, can easily avoid his ultimate with it available. So Oda relieving some pressure from his mid laner with that move. But yeah, the expectation is that we are just going to see this passive build up in T1. A lot of Mage comes in. If you lose some of these early skirmishes,
Oh dear. Raptor was just backing. Does avoid the Lucent Singularity, but then doesn't have the untarget ability for the rest of the engage. Thankfully does make it out to T1. Not going to overextend into that. Only level 4 for Ona, so doesn't have the ulti just yet. Still T1 with a lot of control down here. It is about 6 minions, the difference between the two, which will continue as Paze clears out these remaining 3. The Light Binding connects, and Diablo does still have his barrier available, but that is not a trade that he really wanted to make. As there is the net in, finally the barrier does come on down, and the Light Binding connects once again. Peacemaker is not looking real peaceful here. They just destroy the Lulu.
I think the thing is in this situation is Diablo and Calamity were doing pretty well in the early levels. Getting poked in, getting pushed in, but surviving. But as soon as a trap hits, and particularly at this point, Paze has had a back, he has a pickaxe, Terraria has an amp toe. The extra damage after the face back just makes this all in so much more threatening. Diablo ends up surviving, but Callan is so focused on his AD carry that doesn't respect the binding cooldown and just gets deleted. Still had both summoners available. But to be fair, once the binding is hit,
yeah,
they would not save you.
Nope, he was just dead. A little bit unfortunate, though, that Diablo and Callan are once again very far behind in this laning phase. Obviously, Kate Lux is a very difficult lane to deal with, yeah, but still, I mean,
I think that's
not looking very good.
That's the thing, at least in this game, is last game it was like you picked Ezreal Nico because you wanted to win lane, and losing that to Alistair Jhin feels terrible. This is a lane.
The all-out does come on through here as Doran is going to silence himself. There's the dash forward. Clear hits the Q. Can he find it? Is Doran one more auto and Clear picks it up? The solo bolo from the Cassante in the top lane. As here in the bottom side, things not looking great for Diablo, who does eat the damage from Lucent Singularity as well. Good combo there as he just made it back to lane.
Cassante coming up huge though, finding the all-in onto Doran. Flash advantage now as well. The sustain from that ult going a long way now. Do you see Raptor moving over here?
And Carrier does have his flash up again, and so is a little bit safer now. And it looks like Raptor is not all that interested in making his way over already. Does have his entire bottom side to clear out.
It's over 1,000 gold lead already for Paze.
Yeah. It's a big one. We're gonna have a look at this one more time. It's Clear misses that Q, but this all-out angle was exactly what he wanted to look for. Decides not to dance in the equalizer.
Yeah, Clear absorbing a lot of damage there, and then just in the extended fight, Doran's waiting for cooldown, trying to buy time, and that sustain that you get from the all-out really helping Clear there. Mona looking towards mid.
Emperor's Divide comes down. Beautiful avoidance there from Daystar as he gets the second ult to go back towards his turret, so will keep himself alive. And it didn't even require the flash if that was still on cooldown. Oh dear, I think Diablo may be dead. He dances on top of a trap.
The trap. Great read by Paze, but Diablo just not having a good series so far, and the pressure keeps mounting in this bot lane.
Oh dear. 48-74 as well as far as farm is concerned. It's all negatives here for BK Fearex on the bottom side. As we're going to have a look at this one here on the bottom side once again, and I kind of wish we didn't.
It's just so well played. You're already so low, and it's both of them. Read it, right? Carrying through the binding, and Paze of the traps down there already. They just knew where he was going to go. They knew he couldn't continue to disengage back towards his tier 2 because as soon as you run out from the turret, you don't have that assistance, you're just going to die. There was only one way he could go, but it was just pixel-perfect reads from both the bot laners of T1.
Yeah, gorgeously done. There's the flash all out. Not exactly the best position, but there's the ulti in from Raptor, and Clear picks up another one. This time with Raptor's help, or at least a little bit of assistance, you could say. But this Cassante is very, very large. The problem is he's building all magic resist, and there is still Paze that he has to contend with later on in the game.
Yeah.
So that battle, once they do make it to team fights and things like this, is going to mean things can get a little bit awkward.
I mean, the Kinnick Ruger is going to be fantastic for the 1v1, and presumably he gets an armor iron next.
Yep,
Paze
can
is
also
like-
fight against Faker as well inside lanes.
Yeah, Paze is not exactly shredding anyone at this point who is tanky with a lot of health. So I don't think it's too much of a concern he's lacking armor right now. The main concern is that bot lane is just bleeding out completely. And as much as Raptor and Clear, this duo, are very good at ganking a Rumble, these two champions they have, you can see with the deficit in bot lane, Raptor is so cautious about coming down because if Owner is there, you just, all three of you die and you just lose the game.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if Owner is not there, I don't know, with how far ahead they are now, there's a good chance you don't get a clean double kill, which is what you're really hoping for if you come bot lane.
Yeah, and every single time a light binding comes out, I'm worried that someone's going to die, especially with Diablo's health bar where it is. No barrier available as the Slurple just barely does not stop Paze, who puts together his first item. Oh god, there is one weird axe thingy that Diablo has in comparison.
Yeah, the problem is within this point where you get the cashback money to complete the first item, if you look at the progress on the bot lane quests, Paze is nearly done, and Diablo's like 3/4. And obviously eventually Diablo's is going to be done. But between the cashback for the first item and having the quest completed way sooner, and just the general gold lead, Paze is going to be so far ahead as we go into this mid-game that you just blow the game open with that advantage.
Well, that's precisely what's happening right now as we have a Cloud Dragon second up. See what the soul is going to be immediately afterwards. But right now it looks like we want to knock the test to take on Dragon number 2. So Double Dragon once again, a bit of a monopoly on that objective so far. As it goes Daystar looking for an angle towards Faker here, who's moving the wrong direction. Right now, Daystar feeling pretty good. The ulti does finally come out, and Daystar just holds over it and picks up the solo kill in the mid lane. Solo lane is going well here for BK TRX, but it's this bottom lane that's leaving T1 still with a pretty massive
so much. They obviously struggled playing against Roman in this match yesterday, and once again, Daystar able to find solo kill. There's so much mobility and threat onto a champion who normally survives by just having more mobility than others. TP in, okay, they're looking for this play.
Yeah, they want to try and find an angle with the other dash. Right now, there's the Black Wild Growth just to hold Paze in position, and Raptor trying to make his way down. Cease and desist comes in as he ults over to Paze in order to get himself out of there. Speaking of out, Clear is now just going to push the rest of them away. Doran comes in to try and change this. But Clear has that big old shield, and Doran doesn't have the quest completed yet. Clear's health bar still hasn't moved as Raptor down to about 200. Faker is also about to die as Daystar picks up another solo carrier. It's exceptionally low as Raptor does go into the sky. Clear pulls back Doran. This Cassante is still gigantic, but hasn't got the kills just yet. And Doran is dancing out of the way of these Qs. Can he avoid it? That's the question, as finally the Pathmaker comes in. And I think Clear will be able to get there. Thankfully, Oda still has Ball Breaker to get himself out. And his carrier moves back to this lane. But what just happened? Who won? I think
I think B&K got a lot out of that, which, you know, considering how far behind they already were, they are very happy to play right now. I think they got a solo kill with absolute chaos. Paze is very far forward. Does a lot of damage to Diablo in the turnaround, but eventually has to flash out. And Raptor is like, I'm killing that Caitlyn. That is my goal. Does so pretty easily. Then this is to play. They don't want to chase Owen plus the dash, so they try and go for Doran. Then he escapes to get the shoot equalized out. That should tell him Raptor. Dashes in, kills Diablo, smites Kellen for the kills. And honestly, without that play from Ona, this would have been incredibly favored towards B&K TRX. That cleanup, that angle he found there, really was the difference. We have to see what happened mid lane. We're going to I think it actually out all season, right?
Yeah, he just gets shot by a sword.
Baker just dropped the doubling fight in that close range melee. Going forward like that, gets immediately punished by Daystar.
Well, now we've got a little bit of a 2v2 breaking out here. Raptor is going to lead as it becomes a 3v2 with Carrier in the area. Diablo has to pick up this wave. So T1 with control of the top side. You can see so much vision in the area. There's down as they look for Daystar. He's going to dance on in as Owner is just dead before the fight's even really broken out. And Raptor avoids the Emperor's Divide. Faker is just going to get taken out of T1 not going to be able to do anything about this one right now. Even with a red bottom lane, they cannot manage to match when Owner and Faker kill. And this is kind of, you know, we knew the lane was basically a little bit wrong. It's pretty much the bot lane, but the spirit of how this game is composition, the ability of a Carly Neferi to die T1 is so effective. And it's even only back on most champions just can't stick with it, right? He has his dash, he has his Empress Divide on his face. But Neferi, you saw Raptor use the reset ult to go in, and then just goes untargetable to hop over the Emperor's Divide. 0-4-0. 0-3-1 for Nora. Not a good spot right now. Yeah, it's looking like a little bit of a disaster here as the fight is still waiting. But he will be able to do so, as now Payne Raptor moving in, trying to take down Terraria and Pace. Now in position. Snaptrap goes down, AK move out. But it's a 2.6k gold lead. There is a Rift Herald on the map. It looks like that will belong to BK. Very satisfying 5-point strike on the mini wave as Daystar clears up all that money.
One of the problems as well is that we know that Caitlyn in the late game is going to be an absolute monster. But this point of the game in particular, you just don't have the damage to kill this front line of BK Fearx quickly enough before they just run you over. You know, this Akali who has the Gunblade for a bit of sustain, the Rocket Belt for a bit of health, won't die quickly to a Caitlyn, but will just one-shot you.
Oh, yes.
And the Neferi also not an easy target to actually clear, start to pick up some armor, but just has a lot of health and bulkiness regardless. So all the eggs right now are in the Pace basket, but he needs time. And with how quickly this game has turned around, I don't think BK Fearx planned to give it to them.
Let's see whether they can actually close it on out, as Pay's actually taking a fair bit of damage now from Diablo, who's dashing on in, looks for the angle, finds the ulti in the Arc of Ruin, as now Carrier coming on down, doesn't hit him with the shield, as Daystar lurking on that flank angle as he dashes on forward, caught by the binding, and will get taken down. Huge shutdown over to Pay's, as now the equalizer comes in, that's holds being able to... The flashlight binding is maybe not going to be enough, as that is a takedown by the Neferi. At least Doran is able to pick up the kill onto this Yunara, but Kellen baits Owner in, and Raptor is able to take him down. The top side of the map for B&K are just too fed.
The top side coming in punch, Raptor with the cleanup, and Faker wasn't even there to assist with the play. The start of the play looked so T1 favored. The binding onto Daystar was massive.
Oh, Clear is just wandering as Faker here. Do a Shuriman high five, and then they just walk away.
So this starts off with some aggression from Diablo to chunk out Paze. You can see Owner just finishing the three-fold, and then looking for this dive. Daystar's thinking, I'm so fat, I'm so mobile, what can they do to me? Carrying this phenomenal read there, catch him with the binding. Immediately taking the Akali out of the fight, and then in the ensuing play, this equalizer forces Diablo and Kellen here. The binding.
My God, Carrier!
Good, but it's still not enough because the Neferi just one-shots your Caitlyn. And even with the kill on Diablo is worth a lot less than your Caitlyn is. Ona's trying to clean up kills here, but Raptor just chases him down. And the Cassante is just too tanky to cut through at this point.
Yeah, he is actually on the way to item number 3 as well. As the Iceborne Gauntlet now completed, bottom lane outer turret will fall. The NK2X already removing the entire outer ring.
You know, we're so used to tanks just being given like a lower econ. Like, you're not getting a ton of kills, you're not getting a ton of farm. It's actually the player having the most farm on BNK2X.
He's the monster.
Yeah, because you got a ton of kills. So this is a very accelerated Cassante who is just going to
be able to absorb the damage from Pace. Well, yes, he can. Because Pace is just, even though he is so fed, it's just not quite fed enough. As, oh dear. Okay, the on-spawn Baron into T1. Owner is going to get spotted on a control ward as the final spark is going to see that this Baron is being taken right before their eyes. And I imagine T1's eyes have lit up as Owner has stolen these before many, many times. Doran moving on over. BNK sticking on this Baron for now as Clear's tanking a fair bit of damage. Raptor over the walls, they're looking for the turn. But instead, BNK just going to tank a lot of damage and then just try and leave. Light binding onto 2 once again as Carrier. After that, just goes down. Pays trying to kite as best he can as Owner gets the interrupt on the ulti. And Raptor now does not have the on-target ability to get out. There's the cease and desist as Owner is going to get taken out for it. But he will take Raptor with him. BNK, I think, lucky to get out with a 2-for-1 after that precarious Baron attempt.
Yeah, T1 looking for the top.
Oh dear. Cassante going all out once again as Pays is trying to stay alive, and he fails to do so. Still the shutdown goes over to... Oh, that was such a nice polymorph to come on through, and then Daystar with the perfect execution takes down Faker yet again. Kellen, beautiful play from the grave.
You know, it wasn't as clear-cut as I think BNK2X hoped for, but it's still favorable just because of how strong their mid laner is right now. There's a Kali. Clear takes a ton of damage. Daystar dashes into a trap, but Carrier enters position very aggressively and just gets bursted down. This interrupt from Owner, though, is phenomenal.
Oh, unbelievable.
The trap was ready as well for Pays, but keeping Raptor away went a long way. But then they go for this engage, and it's so hard for Pays to get damage onto the Akali in the trap.
Just absorbs the pressure enough to secure it. Still, they will lose this outer turret in the mid lane. And so the Rebel Baron power play, not the most gigantic thing right now. BNK is still looking for it to flash in from Raptor. Emperor's Divide is going to stop it as the wild growth. Raptor gets out with barely a sliver of health as Daystar. He's able to lock down Owner. There's the dash on forward as Faker is dead once again. But Doran has so much damage on this Rumble as both of the Fed members of BNK are now dead immediately after the Baron goes down. As now Raptor looking for Carrier here, but he's baiting one more time. Pays just nets himself forward, looking to take down Diablo. The final spark, not enough to kill him, but the ace in the hole will take him out. And there goes the Baron.
And there's an ace for T1 on the back of that Baron. BNK2X, everything seemed to be going right for them this game, but Nova Step too far forward. And we see it's Raptor who forces his flashes, not quite in range for the ult yet. but it's so telegraphed.
Straight onto a trap.
Everyone peels for it. And we do see Owner going down here, but Daystar eats so much damage as well in the equalizer. Clear tries to go in, but Pays starts to cut through him. And then in this ensuing fight, they could have just split. They could have backed off, saved the Barons. But Keria walks up, they try and make the play. Doran just melts Raptor, and then it becomes a 2v2 essentially between the bot lanes. And Pays is way too far ahead for BNK FearX to win that.
Oh my goodness, it is a 5,000 gold advantage for the Caitlyn now. That LDR that you were talking about has now been purchased. And yeah, BNK had begun to stack up some dragons. I think that that might be stopping here. The gold lead is not really anything worth writing home about, but let's have a look at the difference between the 80 carries. As Pays, yeah, we mentioned a 5,000 gold advantage. He's also farming way more and has done 5,000 more damage than Diablo as well.
Diablo does pick up the IE, which, you know, it's a nice buy, but Pays at this point, this is like critical mass for the Caitlyn. If you get a headshot, even onto Clear, it's going to do a ton of damage. And it's basically for BNK FearX, you have to find a way to kill Pays. And you can't start your fights by just Raptor ulting him in the middle of his team, because they'll peel every time. They have plenty of ways to do it. You need flank angles. Ideally, you want Clear and Daystar both threatening on a flank, and as they aggress in, it causes chaos for T1. They have to try and defend, and that allows Raptor to slide in and clean up. You know, I think Neferi is so strong in these skirmishes, which we've seen all game, but in a 5v5, you can't just be the primary engager. It just doesn't work that way. You need a bit of space.
Well, Owner is charging up that Vault Breaker, decides not to go in. Keria, though, he does, as he takes a lot of damage as well. The flash out from Owner as now Faker gets himself into position. Sand Soldier's down, doing a decent amount of work. Slurkle slows up Pays, but he is still able to net himself back. A lot of respect given by T1 here in this mid lane. But BNK standing their ground for now. Clear is a brick wall in the front line. Does have teleport for that big old shield as well if he does want to get that one out.
I think T1 trying to fish for something there, but still have to be so respectful of the damage, the burst potential of BNK FearX if they go too far.
All right, so 4 turrets to 3. Still only one inner has fallen in that mid lane from T1 after that advantage that they were able to pull back. And it was a game that was snowballing out of control for BNK FearX, and now T1 have that slight gold lead.
I mean, it's 21 kills to 14, and yet T1 have the gold lead.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of insane. Obviously, huge farm lead in the 80 carry roll, but also a lot of shutdowns picked up over the course of this game.
Yeah, the fact that it was Pays that killed Daystar the first time is kind of insane. Not to mention Doran being bailed out by that kill onto Clear. He does now have his Jack Show's done. 3 items for the Cassante is scary, but Doran's also pretty terrifying himself. As he teleports in, grabs that big old shield. Decent flank angle here for Daystar as well.
Yeah, we do have
a leaf out of the Roma and Pool Bay book.
We do have a TP from Clear, but there's no real ward set up that he can go to get an angle. And the TP, obviously, given that big shield, is a big advantage as well. Will he get spotted in the banana brush? They're looking for him. They found him.
They're going to be able to find him here as Doran. Can he land the harpoon? The answer is no. Equalizer comes on through. Shuriken backflip will be able to avoid to escape. He gets into the shroud, but the rest of his teammates are nowhere nearby. Cease and desist comes in, and there goes the Akali. A 4 versus 5 now as BNK are trying to burst down this dragon, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do so until Owner makes his way over here. Keria just keeping them busy as well as they're in the back of the pit. T1 are just going to light them on fire, and Clear is able to dash his way out. That's going to be soul point over to T1. And they are just playing it more methodically here from this mid-game onwards.
Yeah, great catch onto Daystar. I'm not sure if they just sensed that, okay, Akali's missing, probably there. If they saw him walk in there, there's a decent amount of vision in the vicinity. So I'm not 100% certain if they had vision on him prior to him going into that brush, but great collapse comes through. And then they're willing to commit so much for him. They commit the Equalizer, they commit the Vials, because they know if they catch Sakali, they remove so much pressure and gold from the fight, it's just a done deal.
And they take him out, and that is going to mean that BNK not fast enough on the Dragon. It's not exactly the end of the world, right? It is one singular Ocean Drake, but
yeah,
the point is still a big deal here.
I think as well, even though Ocean Soul is one that, you know, I don't value very highly, and there's not like a ton of super tanky champions on T1 to get a ton of value. Like Cassante could get a decent amount of value from it. I still think with how close these fights have been, it could just contribute to being that tipping point. You know, with how scrappy and long and drawn out some fights have been, that extra healing can definitely be a big contributor. Now, we have got the Akali keeping into the top lane, just picking the wave it seems, but both teams are laser focused around this Baron area. We can see some control wards set up by T1, pretty shallow, but just trying to defend those as best they can.
5 items have now been completed, not including boots for Pays.
Ooh, these are some pretty good items.
Yeah, in the time that Pays has bought an LDR and a GA, I think Diablo has purchased a pickaxe. That's kind of the feeling here, as the Baron is being started up once again. Daystar is now lurking. He flashes in, gets the wild growth as cease and desist comes through. Pays down so incredibly low, taken down to the GA, and Daystar's able to go golden. There goes Ona, as Daystar trying to get on top of Pays, but he doesn't need to. Keria is able to finish off the Akali, but they take down Faker as well. B&K Fear X have wiped out most of T1 and are looking for the Baron.
They just needed someone to lead the charge, and you know, so much harder to peel the Akali compared to the Neferi, so explosive and quick. And even though we see Daystar get choked down as much as Pays does, Pays going to the GA just is unable to recover from this position. Daystar just flies in, immediately commits the wild growth as well for the extra knock-up follow-up. And even though, you know, GA for the Caitlyn and Stasis for the Akali, which, you know, ends up with him dying regardless, it still is taking down this super fed AD carry who is so much of the gold on T1, and as soon as you remove that, it just makes the fight feel so much easier.
Really does. And it is going to shrink that gold advantage that Pays does have. Obviously, gold is going to mean less and less as he has a control ward right now, but that'll likely be just a completed item relatively quickly.
Not just a gold lead, but burning both Sums and GA. You know, a big part of the value of GA is obviously the passive. And if that's not available, you know, the gold advantage doesn't feel as significant. With Diablo now on 4 items, the shield bow, until Pays' GA is back off cooldown, it kind of feels like he's on 4.5.
Yeah, kind of feels like it. Raptor going to be taking a crab here in this river, as so far the Rebel Baron power play is sitting at about 1,000. That has only been able to equalize the gold between these two teams. There is 100 gold in it. It's kind of insane how close this one is after the absolute decimation of game number 1.
Yeah, you know, game 1, very clean, very surprising based on what happened with T1 yesterday. We're expecting some shenanigans, and this game was delivered.
Yeah, the circus is back in show. We have returned to the tent, ladies and gentlemen. It was certainly business as usual. Maybe we were in the office for game 1, and we're back in the tent for game 2. As this inner turret will be taken out, as the Lucent Singularity does not find much because the Light Binding missed. And now Ona is going to be vault breaking backwards, avoiding B&K as best they can. 1,700 is the lead, but B&K have only been able to take that inner turret on the bottom side of the map. I believe the inner had already gone down earlier on the top side. And so not a massive amount of value from this Baron. It's this Drake that's coming up in 25 seconds that maybe they need to be a little bit aware of. They have so much vision in the area as now Clear could be in trouble. Faker is moving over and the Vault Break is going to be there. That teleport, a very weird decision for Clear to make as he does look to try and push Ona away. Gets the all out as now Pays is going to show up. Emperor's Device sweeps him under the rug. And that is going to be a dead K'Sante for a minute's time. And Raptor actually walked all the way up here to try and defend. The rest of B&K also doing so.
Yeah. Not able to threaten the dragon on the other side of the map right now. T1 continuing to push here. Ona, though, doesn't want a face check.
A little bit dangerous as he does try to Vault Break away. Still, he gets a big old shield, but now Diablo getting hit by basically everything and the kitchen sink as Raptor goes down to the GA. The equalizer is going to burn the Yunara to a crisp as Raptor cannot do anything. And it was just fighting a losing battle here for B&K.
And just like that, suddenly T1 might be looking towards an end. Daystar is up and available. But if he ends up getting caught out, goes down, if a binding hits, T1 will just push to finish.
Yeah, 10 seconds on Clear here before he is back up and available as Daystar Let's see what he can do here. He dashes on forward into the Shroud now as well. He blows up Pace! He will trade himself for it, but that is so much of the damage here onto these structures removed, and that may have saved the game for B&K.
That was enough from Daystar. Finds the play, shuts down the T180 carry, and is able to keep the game alive. I do think Dragon might be handed over here to T1, but you know, this play here, Owner disengaging, and then this binding from Carrier. The timing has just been impeccable. Doesn't save his jungler, but we see FaZe trying to put a ton of damage to Diablo, but he's saved by the shield bow, but then Doran comes in and just cleans him up. We see the trap catching Raptor, even though he goes invulnerable, so he doesn't die to it, he will go down after. And then here, this Akali still just so much of a threat. With no GA, no summoners, Page just gets exploded in a second.
And we're seeing in live as well that the Dragon is going to get sort of brute forced. Carrier looking to try and at least be a nuisance in the area, but without Paze, T1 were not able to stick around. They did get there first, but B&K bully them away.
We saw Faker keep being into mid lane. I expect to try and lean towards the Dragon and secure it, but B&K Fearx able to force our way in and take it. Both teams on soul point. I do think
a lot of Ocean Drakes.
Yeah, I do think B&K Fearx.
Oh yeah. Well, Clear is going to find Faker here. He all outs to avoid the Emperor's Divide. They trade ultis. There's one thing, I think I was a little bit rude to Clear. If you just press your teleport and get interrupted, do you still get the big old shield from the quest? Or do you have to actually have teleported somewhere in order to get the shield? Because I didn't see the shield, but he took a bajillion damage.
I don't think he got the shield.
Alright, so that's just, it was just a little bit of a silly
But you know what, I'm not 100% certain, but it's because he had the Kainic roofing shield, but I don't think he got like the big...
Yeah, no, because that shield is hefty, right?
Yeah.
So I think I probably would have seen it, but if that was his attempted maneuver, then that would have worked.
Yeah, because that would have made more sense. Obviously, into a Vi, you're never gonna...
No, exactly.
Like, Oda didn't even need to ult, but he had it.
Yeah, he just broke the vault, as it turns out. Clear very close to level 20 as well. Might actually have that on this wave, as Nevermind sharing the XP means that he does not.
Okay, Rabadon's in for Fake, and honestly, Fake is... I mean, he is behind in gold 1,600, but considering he's down 8 kills, and he's even in items, he has actually got a good amount of gold in the pocket.
He's also full glass cannon, so he does so much damage.
Yes.
Even if he does die pretty quickly if they ever do get on top of him. Flanking teleport to come through from Daystar, though, as Doran also looking to rotate over immediately, trying to join the rest of his team. As T1 set up in the mid lane, Light Binding goes wide as B&K moving over towards the freshly spawned Baron. Daystar flashes in, they get on top of Paze! Can they blow him up? They take him down to the GA, but there goes the Akali first off! And there's the Cassante going down as well. Paze might actually die as Raptor. He's able to pick up that kill, but Faker is still standing, and we mentioned how much damage he can do. Kellen and Raptor by themselves cannot do enough, and T1 are now closing in on the base.
That's the thing, even though Faker struggled in this game, he's so fed now. He is a second carry, and Paze buys enough time with the J, with the summoners. Faker comes up to clean up. The Neferi owner is looking for that Lulu.
There it is.
That, even still down in kills, but T1 will find their second 2-0 of the weekend.
And this time was not the same as game number 1, but still another 2-0 here for T1 in their home ground. As we'll see whether it's once again going to be Carrier that picks up another Inspire POM, or whether it's maybe someone else this time. As
Van terceros junto con De Plus Kio. ¿Es esta que la vende? No. ¿Cuál es el que la...? Es esta, ¿no? No. ¿La Squirrel? A ver. Tengo que abrir un boquete ahí que flipas, tío. Pero... ¿cómo se llama esta mierda? Necroplas. No, necro. ¿Cómo se llama esta mierda? Necroplasmic Beacon. Que hay uno, tío, que me vende unas cosas para poder teletransportarme. Pero no sé dónde cojones está, tío. Nunca sé dónde mierda está, tío. Ah, mira. Podemos invocar este. Vale, pues ahora vamos a invocarlo, ¿sabes? Total. Astral Communicator. Mierda. jodas, tío. Está guapísimo el boss, tío. O sea, de momento es el mejor bicho que he visto de todo el juego, ¿eh? O sea, tío, está epiquísimo, brother. No me jodas. Tío, no me jodas. Está épico, tío. No me jodas, tío. Está epiquísimo, tío. guapo, tío. Está muy guapo, tío, Lo que pasa es que ya está ahí, es una putada que flipas. Pero... no hay manera de invocarlo aquí, ¿no? Ah, no puedes poner dos, ¿sabes? Dios, es durísimo, es súper chungo, ¿Qué cojones, tío? O sea, la segunda fase es una locura. Yo tengo que empezar a hacer esto, ¿sabes? De quedarme quieto. Está guapo, tío. Ya, pero bounces of walls, o sea que no me sirve de nada. Claro, porque... Y el FRBS. ¿Qué mierda es esto, tío? Se llama... Ah, porque va con 2 Fs. ¿Esta mierda? ¿Ethereum what? ¿Qué cojones es esto, tío? Ethereum block. ¿Qué shimmer, tío?
de ratas drogadictas.
Sí.
Con sus más sofisticados planes.
Ah, bueno, pues no están. Entonces esto es, más o menos hemos dicho que es, vale, en una depresión. Aquí. El problema, tío, es el movimiento, tío. No acabo de controlar bien esto. Lo de quedarme quieto, tío, no lo acabo de pillar. Básicamente lo que tengo que hacer es esquivar, ¿sabes? Pero igual, en vez de atacarle en ese momento, solo esquivar. Espérate un momento. Joder, tío. Es que me mata demasiado rápido, tío. Además me duele la mano, tío. Sí, sí. Sí, sí. La gracia es esquivar hasta allí y ahí volverla a meter. Pues si estoy intentando pensarme en atacar, tío, pues... Tío, es que no me sale, tío, lo de mantenerme en el aire no me sale, tío. Es una mierda, tío. Pero va muy rápido y me tengo que mantener en el aire. Es una putada, tío. Bueno, que tampoco no es que sea muy difícil, pero es más que nada, más que difícil es ya te digo, es la parte esa, tío. Que me cuesta un poquillo porque no le acabo de dar. Tío, es que... Ya digo, no es difícil, es simplemente es bullet, claro, igual si me cambio las alas. No, pero entonces no puedes hacerlo del pararte quieto. que lo puto sabía, tío. Dios, tío, que me duele hasta la mano, tío. ¡No me jodas, tío! ¡Hala, tío! O sea, me he muerto al final cuando... ¡Qué puta vaina, eh! Es que me duele la mano, tío, de tanto... Buah, tío, qué putadón, tío. No me jodas, tío, no me jodas. Va, hombre, va, tío, va. Es que estaba a 0 de vida, tío. Qué falso, tío. Es que... Estaba a 0 de vida, tío. O sea, 0 de vida, hermano. No me jodas. Hijo de puta, tío. O sea, lo tenía, tío. A 0 de vida, tío. Y he palmado un inútil, tío. Pero a ver, tío, ¿cómo esperan que te pases eso antes del Moonlord, tío? Hostia, qué putadón, tío, qué putadón, tío. Ah, está bien. Voy a comer. Qué putada, tío, qué putada, tío, qué chungo, tío.